Hey everybody, Dennis back with a brand new video. Today I'm going to show you how to install a light fixture. So we have an old light fixture in our entryway. I want to change it up to something new and improved, something that looks nice and isn't as ugly as the one that's there right now. I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's do this. So this is the light fixture we're going to be changing out here. This thing is, I guess we could say, dated, to put it nicely. So what we need to do first is we need to shut off the power to this. I'm simply just gonna kill the light switch for this. All right, so killing that light switch should get rid of the power to this. Now, depending on the light that you have, it may be mounted a little bit differently. This one has these little kind of thumb screws on it. And when you take these off, this reveals the wiring in the bracket and your outlet box in the ceiling here. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pop the wire nut off here. That gets rid of that wire. And I'm gonna pull that one off. That gets rid of that wire. Now we know there's no power here because we killed that light switch. That light is no longer on. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna remove this old bracket because the new light fixture uses a new mounting bracket. So on this one, it is just 2 flathead screws. They could be Phillips. Sometimes the newer ones are Phillips. We're just gonna drop this out of here, just like this. And we'll set this to the side. We'll grab our new light fixture. We'll grab the new mounting plate. It's very similar to this. It's actually just a bar that mounts in between the 2 screw holes. And we'll get our new light fixture up here. Here is the mounting bar that I had talked about. So instead of having that larger one, we're gonna use this one here, and we're gonna reuse those 2 screws that came out of here. We do need to ground our fixture and that mounting bar that we're putting back in here. So what I'm doing is I'm using a bare piece of 14 gauge copper wire I pulled out of a scrap piece of Romex, and I have one of these bonding screws. So you can either use a flathead or a Phillips on these, and you can also use a 5/16 Nutdriver. I like to use these because it gets a little better grip on here. So in these metal boxes, this does not apply what I'm doing exactly right now if you have a plastic ceiling box. But for the metal boxes, the box needs to be bonded to ground also. This originally had both of these copper ground wires wrapped around one of the string relief screws in here. So in order to get everything bonded, including the box and the fixture, we need to install this bonding jumper. So typically in these metal boxes, there is additional holes in here. So this one has an extra hole right in front of where that strain relief is that we're not using. So I'm gonna run this ground screw with wire right into that hole, and we're gonna tighten this up. All right, so now, this is the green wire nut I was talking about. We call this a Greenie. It has a hole on the end here, and what that does is it allows you to take a bunch of ground wires together, wire nut them together, and then have a little lead or a tail wire, or whatever you want to call it, coming out the end through that hole here. So we'll tighten that on there. We'll have this extra wire here to bond our mounting bar and the light fixture itself. There is a ground wire on the light fixture itself. So I'm gonna take some Linesman Pliers. I'm gonna tighten this up. All right, we want all our connections to be super tight when we do electrical work. Very, very important. So we're gonna install this, and then we're gonna tuck this ground wire up inside of here like this, out of the way. This one can go up out of the way. And this one also. And one thing I forgot to mention here, I shut off the power earlier. I know this is not live anymore, but if you have one of these non-contact voltage testers, you can also stick it on here. You can also use a voltmeter, whichever you like. Just make sure you're safe. This comes with a post. We don't know where this needs to be set right now, so we're not gonna worry about it. I'm just gonna leave it loose. And once we get the fixture up here, kind of like a mock-up mount, will determine where that needs to be, and then we can secure it in place. Make sure that's in there nice and tight. Now we need to ground this bar here. So instead of putting this on here, because this screw's a little small, I will, when I put the fixture up here, I'll wrap that braided, it's typically a braided copper ground wire. I'll wrap that fixture wire around here and then wire nut the other end of it to this ground wire. And then after we make these connections, everything will fit up there real nice. This will be grounded, and the fixture will be grounded also. All right, so here is our light fixture. And like I mentioned, we have the braided ground wire. This is what it looks like. And then we have two additional wires, your black, which is your hot, and your white, which is your neutral. A lot of times, these will kind of be all, the strands on here will kind of be all over the place. I like to just twist them and get them nice so it fits under the wire nuts really nice. Right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually just kind of tuck this out of the way real quick. And we're gonna see how this fits on this mounting piece right here. So there should be a hole in here. Right there. Sometimes you can just poke a screwdriver through. I think we're gonna do that. It'll actually help you guide it into place too, if you just want to stick a screwdriver up through there like that. So. All right, and we're gonna screw this on here and test to see if there is enough room inside of there to grab the light fixture. And there is. Okay, so we know that that post on that mounting bar doesn't need to be retracted or extended any. So we can take this off now. So I like to, especially if it's a fixture I've never installed before, I like to kind of do a little mock-up and make sure that everything's adjusted to where it needs to be. Now we can pull this out, pull that back out, and this guy, and we can take this and wrap this around that screw, like I mentioned. So instead of using the solid wire around there, I like to use the braided. Get this wrapped around here. And if you kind of wrap it around a little extra, it'll help keep it from coming out from underneath the screw as you tighten it. All right, so that went around. We're gonna move it to that side. Now, you wanna be careful, especially if you let it hang like this. It's typically strong enough on these smaller light fixtures where you can hang it from there. If you do have a helper, that'd be great to help hold that for you. We're gonna make up the ground connection first. So you can use the wire nuts it comes with. They're typically okay. They're not the greatest. I do like the Ideal brand. They make some pretty nice wire nuts, but we can use this without any issues. And we'll tuck that all the way back up in the box. So our ground is good. Now we'll connect our neutral. You just want to make sure that your wiring's kind of out of the way of where that post has to go. So we'll connect up our neutral now. Yeah. Once again, you want to make sure all your connections are really tight. You don't want loose connections with electrical. Anything loose will end up heating up and has the potential to cause a fire. You definitely don't want that. All right, and we got our hot wire. And you can tell, like, when you put the wire nut on, you can tell if either wire isn't really engaging into the wire nut, because you will be able to pull it out. I'm just gonna take my Linesman's grab that nut on there, that lock nut, and give it a little twist to tighten it up. So you can just stick your screwdriver right in here and it'll actually guide your fixture right over that post, just like that. I'm gonna take a peek around the perimeter of this, make sure there's no wire sticking out. There's not, so we're good. So for this particular fixture, we have these glass pieces that go on. So to install them, this is actually a really nice fixture. It's from Lowe's. All we do is we take that off. I guess my fingers can reach up in here, just barely. All right, and you don't want to crank on this because you will crack the glass. You just don't want it to rattle. Now I got these cool kind of Edison style LED bulbs that I want to try out in here and see what they look like. Pretty cool, right? All right, so our last step is to put this metal baffle in place here. So this just slides up in here, like so. And this little retainer goes on here and tightens up. And it's more aesthetic than anything. It really doesn't have a function to, you know, to hold the glass in place or anything. It's more for looks, but it looks pretty cool. And we'll tighten it up here. And let's test this out, see what it looks like. All right, so we're up and running and installed. Everything looks nice. All right, everybody, that wraps it up for today's video. If you have any suggestions on new videos you want to see, make sure to drop it down in the comment section below. Also, make sure to hit that like button and that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our new videos. Got a couple new ones coming your way soon. Thanks for watching.